Welcome back to Great Sports Debates. So far, another week done well for you, another week done well for me. 10-4 so far through the Sunday games. We're working to prepare these power rankings week 3. Now, I want to try to get those to you every time by Monday, noon PST. So we won't always have the Monday night games, but people seem to like to see those early. And we'll go with our picks a little early as well, so maybe not the freshest line, but try to get those out to you Wednesday by noon PST. So let's go ahead and start right where we're at. We got the Chicago Bears at the bottom, 32. They've been blown out in 2 games. Fields still looks like he can't pass despite having a good weapon and more. The defense has given up a lot of points. The offensive line can't protect. It doesn't look good for Chicago right now. Next, we'll go Houston Texans. Full disclosure, I haven't got to see the Texans as much as I'd like to. But as we know, they were already short a bunch of pieces going back to last year. Now we're throwing in a rookie quarterback who's doing okay, but just from the highlights and the numbers he's putting up, it looks like he's having to pass the ball a little too much. They're 0-2. Maybe not quite this bad, but this is where we have them for now. Continuing to go rapid fire through the bottom, we got the Arizona Cardinals. They are 0-2. We did have them at the bottom at the beginning, but they've had a good showing in both games. Again, another team I haven't seen as much as I'd like to. Always thought Dobbs was a good quarterback, but not really great for the long term as he's more of a dink and dunk type guy. But between what they've been able to do on defense, he seems to be able to move the ball enough with his arm as well as his legs. And he's put a couple of good games together. So this is a team that could be moving as well. All right, for now, in the absence of seeing their Monday night game, I'm expecting the Panthers to lose, so I have them here. Again, you can only watch so much of each game each week. Panthers have a rookie quarterback. Their run defense looks terrible. Let's see if they can strengthen up their run defense and run the ball enough to move them closer to the middle of the pack. And as you asked, we're going to try to keep going quick through these. We have the Denver Broncos up next. As I said last week, anytime I get the Broncos and they're giving somebody else 3.5 or more, I'm taking that. I continue to stand by that. Like I said in the picks last week, it wasn't super high on Washington, but the Broncos, despite what upside people think they might have with Russell Wilson, they've lost the 2 teams that aren't that great with Washington and the Raiders, who I have in the lower end. So I really can't have them any higher than this right now. I was expecting more from their defense, but there seems to be some holes there too. Next, we got the Colts. This is the lowest of any of the teams we have winning a game, and maybe I have them too low here. I know they beat up on Houston pretty good. Richardson's at least able to kill it with his legs for this point. The Colts have a good offensive line. Let's see if they can put together another game and move up in the rankings. Next, we got the Raiders. And Jimmy G seems to be okay, but, they're not running the ball as well as they had before. The offensive line, of course, continues to be an issue. I don't know if the Raiders are going to be able to score enough points to keep up with teams. And now with Devontae Adams out for a while, it's hard to see the Raiders winning many games at this point. We got the G-Men next. And through the first 6 quarters, this looked like this might be the number 32 team. I mean, they got beat down as Dallas, as we predicted, one of our best bets. Remember, we went 4-0 in best bets week 1, and I think that number was 3-1 last week on games that I really like to bet, which kind of killed me that the Chargers couldn't beat Tennessee by more than 3.5. But, maybe we've just overvalued the Chargers too much. But we're on the Giants here, and I don't know who we're going to see more of. The Giants from the last 2 quarters that went off, or the first 6 quarters. But they got a tough game this week, so I can't see them winning right there. Okay, I really wanted to wait till after Monday to place the Steelers. So this is kind of a placeholder where we have the Steelers right now. Obviously, their week 1 was as bad as anybody. I'm really curious to see this Browns game. If you haven't seen the week 2 bets video, you might want to check that out. There's a little gem for you where you pick up a little extra cash. That was my silver pick. I really like the Browns. -1.5, but this will be a great game to see. Is the Browns defense as good as they looked week 1? Obviously, we don't think the Steelers are as bad as they looked week 1, but how much better than that can they be? Moving on, we got the New England Patriots. I didn't get to see a lot of them week 1. I did watch most of their game this past week. They're 0-2. Mac Jones looks like he can run the ball a little bit. He's finding these nice little 7-8 yard plays. But they played 2 really tough teams and haven't been able to string enough plays together to win. I honestly think that they're probably pretty higher than this, but until they show that, I'm going to have them here for now. But, with Bill Belichick and the players he has, I think he's going to find a way to be at least middle of the pack by the end of the season. All right, the Titans is a team that I keep sleeping on, and they keep sniping me. They're 1-1. They've won both their games against the spread. I know that because those are 2 games I lost, despite having a pretty good record. And I really want to check them out here in week 3 and see how they do. Obviously, Tannehill was really bad the first week. He had a solid game the second week. Henry's always going to be able to run the ball. And to my surprise, they were able to put up more points than I was expecting to against the Chiefs. So, Titans, a team to watch. Okay, again, the Saints is a team we've only got to see once. And I didn't get to see much of that game against Tennessee, where they did win the game but didn't score a lot and failed to cover. I'm hoping Carr has a little more against the Carolina Panthers here. That they have trouble with the Panthers. Expect this team to drop a lot in the power rankings. All right, next up we got the Jets. This is a tough one. Really, I have them higher than I think they are in my mind. I don't want to overreact to one game, but the Jets with Zach Wilson is a lot different team than the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not expecting a lot out of the offense. The game was a blowout, and I don't think it was even as close as the score. Zach was able to hit Wilson for the one big play, but outside of that, they had a really hard time doing anything in the passing game. And despite the Jets' defense being lights out, they're going to have a hard time carrying this offense. All right. Moving on, we got the old Washington Commanders. I think this is the lowest we have a team that's 2-0. The Commanders were able to beat Arizona and beat Denver. 2 teams I'm not super high on. They had a hard time doing it. It's low scoring first week. Sam Howell looked okay, about what we expected. I only got to see the end of the game the other day where they clearly put up 35 points, so the offense must be doing something right. I see Washington as a middle-of-the-pack team, and I'm going to have to see them do it against somebody else for me to give them the jump up that maybe they deserve. All right, next we got the LA Chargers. Now, I know a bunch of people were like, wait a minute, the 0-2 Chargers ahead of the 2-0 Washington Commanders. Yes. And if I had to bet on those two teams playing against each other, I'm guessing the Chargers are favored. Chargers are 0-2. They lost to a tough Miami team that we predicted that they were going to lose to. And they did lose to Tennessee in overtime. They seem to be scoring the ball well. You know, they were without their running back and on the road last week. Chargers are going to have to really prove it this next week. And despite all the weapons that they have on offense, they're 0-2. We got the Green Bay Packers next. This one is kind of tricky because, you know, obviously Green Bay looked great in that first game against Chicago. If you look into it, the efficiency of Jordan Love, despite them really beating them, wasn't great. And Green Bay, without their star running back, had to lean on Love, you know, more in that fourth quarter, and he wasn't really able to come through. So I think Green Bay is going to continue to be a tough team. They got a good offensive line. They got a good running back and a pretty good defense. It's going to be a question of how much Jordan Love can develop and how much he can carry that team. All right, we got another 0-2 team in the rankings. The Minnesota Vikings. Yes, the Vikings are 0-2. They had a pretty tough go. They had Philadelphia this last Thursday. I watched that game. They really shot themselves in the foot. They're able to move the ball pretty well on offense despite being one-dimensional. I mean, Cousins can just kind of throw the ball up to Jefferson at any point and he catches the ball. The problem is that seems to be the only weapon. Osborne dropped a couple of easy passes, at least that I remember seeing. And I know sometimes when you look at drops numbers, it doesn't have as many as the guy should have. But Osborne dropped a couple of easy ones, I know for sure. They can't and don't run the ball well. They fall behind. And their defense is giving up a ton of points. But based on their ability to get the ball to Jefferson and generate points, I feel like this is a team that's going to be middle of the pack and be able to win a bunch of games on Justin Jefferson alone. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Okay, we got the Cincinnati Bengals now. This is a team that's really hard for me. Every time, like when I watched them early in the year, last year they didn't look impressive. But when it comes to playoff times, they've been good the last few years. And, you know, they lost Jesse Bates from last year. And I can't think of any other, like, really big or major losses. So ping me in the comments of who else they're missing. But, I mean, really just from watching them, like, Joe Burrow just doesn't look good right now. And I've always thought he was a little bit overrated when we get into terms of people putting him in the best quarterback conversation. But obviously, he's a higher-end quarterback, and right now he's just not playing good. They're 0-2, looked a lot better against Baltimore than they did against Cleveland the first week. Let's see what they can do week 3. And that could be a season-deciding type game for Cincy. I know I don't want to say anything crazy. I don't want to be one of the people that overreacts. But, you know, when they get to the point, if they get to 0-3, you have to start believing what the team is doing. Okay, I got the Seahawks next. This is kind of a tough one. I really expected them to lose this week with both their offensive tackles out. But they seem to pass protect just fine and run the ball okay. They basically scored every possession, or at least it seemed that way. It was close too. I would say more of that's probably on the Lions' defense than the Seahawks being great. But either way, they looked really well on offense. Defense is again a concern. That's twice they've given up 30 points. Maybe I got them a little bit too high here, but I am expecting the defense to play better, especially at the cornerback play, where, you know, they have a couple of good guys. But Seahawks, I mean, they just beat a pretty good team, that Lions team that people are starting to overhype. All right, now we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this is a really tough one. This was the most overvalued team last year, but I think a lot of that was kind of connected to Tom Brady. And while people were disappointed with how that team turned out, they still won 9 games last year. Now they're 2-0 with Baker Mayfield in the last start, and it seems like he has all the pieces around him to do pretty good this year. Obviously, the ceiling can only be so high with Baker at the helm. But, man, he was making Mike Evans look really good the other day. Well, actually, it's probably the other way around. If you saw some of the catches Mike Evans made during that game, he was making Baker Mayfield look really good. But Mayfield's smart enough to know the guy he can find and throw it up to. All right, we're throwing the Atlanta Falcons into the upper bracket now, just outside of the top 10. I just have the hardest time believing in this team. Like Tennessee, they've proved me wrong twice. So I'm going to have to start respecting the Atlanta Falcons. They're a really good running the ball team. They have pretty good weapons at wide receiver. And Bijan can catch as well. And Bijan, by the way, is looking fantastic. So, I mean, we knew this team could run the ball. They're playing solid defense. And I still have the same complaint that I did before, is I really don't trust Ritter that much throwing the ball. But with everything around him, maybe it's enough. We're going to see eventually. I think the Falcons got Detroit coming up soon. That should be a good one to see where they're at. All right. Now we're moving into teams that might actually win a playoff game. And Jacksonville Jags, they lost to Kansas City, but we expected that. That was one of our best bets. Defense held them to a decent spot. I did figure their offense would put up a little more. Maybe I should have dropped them a little more following this loss, but I'm just not really high enough on any of the other teams to kind of push them ahead of Jacksonville yet. Week 3 is another week where maybe we see where they're at. Okay, we're at the Detroit Lions. So first week, start of the season, I had them higher than anybody else. Then after they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, everyone had them higher than I had them. A little bit of an overreaction. But I still expected them to beat the Seahawks. And I have to say, I was just really disappointed with the defense. No matter what you think about what calls happened or guys getting held or whatever, the defense was atrocious. And Jerry Jeudy, he got destroyed. So they really need to find someone to fit that other cornerback spot, and that's been a problem for a while. And Seattle just kept exposing the same thing over and over and over. So they're going to have to figure that out this week, because other teams are going to continue to do the same thing. And no matter how well they do on offense, if their defense plays that bad, it's going to be hard to be better than 500 for the Lions. Okay, the LA Rams. Yeah, I moved them up again despite losing the game. They showed me everything I expected. They kind of proved what I thought. Hey, if Matt Stafford can get some time, he's going to move the ball. The defense is okay. They just played a really tough San Francisco team that we literally had ranked number 1 last week. The biggest thing about this, and I made a short about it, is let me know in the comments, have you ever seen a team drive down, use all their best plays, and hustle down the field down by 10 just to stop the clock to get a last play to kick a long field goal when you're down by 10? Yeah, it was definitely strange to me. Let me know what you think. All right, I really wish I would have got the Monday night game before I could rank the Browns. It'd really be nice to see them more than one time against the Cincinnati team that didn't play well. But I'm placing them here. I'm expecting them to beat the Steelers on Monday night. Obviously, if that doesn't happen, there'll be an adjustment reflected next week. But the Browns have guys that should be playing good in the secondary. They got a defensive coordinator that's willing to move Myles Garrett around and find matchups that are favorable for him. And they have a good running game, and I think those are all really good keys to success. Now the question is, will Deshaun Watson play well enough for them to be able to compete come playoff time? So this is a game I'm really excited to see. Okay, we have the Baltimore Ravens next. They just keep winning. They blew out Houston as expected week 1. In one of our best bets, as I mentioned, they played Cincinnati, beat them outright. We took them plus the 3.5. And, this is a team that's always going to be tough because they got a good defense. Lamar has some weapons now, and he's just always so tough because when things break down, he can scramble, he can run, he can pick up yards with his legs. So that team's always going to be a tough out no matter what. All right, maybe I made a mistake here. I slid the Philadelphia Eagles down a little bit. I don't think that they had a bad game or weren't impressive like I've heard some other people have. On the contrary, I think their second game was more impressive. They showed they could run the ball at will and control both lines of scrimmage, which to me is more important than anything. I think this is more just of how impressed I am with other teams. But I really do like the Philadelphia roster, and this is a team I could see moving back up in the power rankings, as I'm really asking myself right now, if they played some of these teams ahead of them, would I be betting on Philly? So, all right, now we're getting into our title contender teams, and Philadelphia is actually part of that as well. The Kansas City Chiefs, again, this is another team that I think I probably have ranked a little bit too low here. But it's based off of what they've done this season. Their offense still hasn't quite clicked. And I don't know what it's going to take to get them going. The defense does look good so far. But Kansas City's another team. I really can't see slotting them any lower than 5. All right, at number 4, we got the Buffalo Bills. They did lose week 1 in a bad way. I think that's kind of the ugly Josh Allen moment in that first week. And he's gonna have games and moments like that. People just have to understand that that's part of the deal with the Buffalo Bills. But the offense is so explosive, they're gonna win some big games. And Buffalo is definitely a team that could win it all. And right now we have them at 4. I could see them kind of going either way. They're in a really tough division though, including with one of the teams that we have ahead of them actually that's in their division, the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Miami Dolphins, we've been getting value on the first 2 weeks. Best bet last week, or week 1, I said, wow, you're getting points with Miami, they're going to beat the Chargers straight up, and they did. Week 2, I said, wow, they're only minus 2.5 against New England. They're definitely going to beat New England. It's a matter by how much. Now, the value's probably run out at this point, and maybe I have Miami ranked a little too high, a little bit drunk on the offense, and I probably do. But it's funny seeing in the comments all the people that are talking about Tua needing to get receivers the ball, and my comments back of like, hey, did you not watch last season? Did you not see how good the Dolphins were when Tua played? To people finally just recognizing like, hey, this guy can ball. All right, and I'm gonna have to make another tier for the top 2 teams because they just clearly looked way better than everyone else so far. At number 2, we got the San Francisco 49ers, and they have played some lights out football. Now, I know I had them 1 lot last week, and they played well, and maybe they should still be 1. Again, it's just, you can't go wrong either way. Both teams have been dominant, all phases of the ball. I did say that I trust Purdy more to deliver than Dak. As good as San Francisco's defense is, I don't know if it's as good as Dallas's. Dallas's defense might be something we haven't seen in a while. But San Francisco's probably going to be a double-digit favorite a lot of times. Again, McVay kind of screwed us on this pick last week. But San Francisco is going to be a team that is going to be hard to bet against all year long, except when they're dodging major numbers. And finally at the top, we got the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are the number 1 team in our power rankings. They are able to run the ball at will. The offensive line's looking good. They're giving Dak plenty of time. Dak is still making his occasional mistakes, but the defense is so good, it really doesn't matter. This is a defense that it almost feels like the Bears several years back, where you almost expected the defense to score. Like, they're going to make plays. Micah Parsons, outside of somebody having a crazy season, there's no way he should be denied, again, Defensive Player of the Year. He is literally changing outcomes of games on the defensive side. And I know Cowboys fans always think that this is the year for their team. Well, this is the first year I'm agreeing with them. And at least for right now, I got the Cowboys on top. As always, these are my opinions. Let me know what you think. I got the picks coming out. We're going to try to do, as I said, power rankings every Monday at noontime, Pacific Standard Time, as well as our weekly picks against the spread. Pick up some cash. People want them out earlier, so I'm going to try to get those out Wednesday by noon Pacific. As always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.